Hello everyone, good night. We have today a very special guest. He's the kindest, most handsome, most intelligent guy that I've met from Pakistan. And he is here
Fred is the most charming.
He is here to tell us about his journey from Pakistan all the way to become a fuel systems engineer in the UK. So,
Yeah.
Jay, thank you very much for being here, mate.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, tell us how you went out of Pakistan and started your journey in the UK.
So I think we can go back to high school,
Yeah.
because that's like the last point of my life in Pakistan before I moved to the UK. So I did my education in the UK system. I did my GCs and my A levels. So I was already in the mindset of applying to universities outside of Pakistan.
And why the UK and not Pakistan? What made you take that leap?
Well, mostly because of the job opportunities. I was passionate about engineering, automotive, aerospace, and there's not enough careers in aerospace and automotive in Pakistan to pursue that.
Okay.
So it was always in the back of my mind that I might stay in Pakistan, but just wanted to try my best to apply to other countries.
Okay. And how about you?
And UK wasn't even my initial plan. It was the
Okay.
US. I did my SATs and all. My brother was already in the US. It was the ideal option for me.
Okay.
And I had a really good application. I applied to everywhere. Unfortunately, they replied.
So how many applications did you do for the UK?
US?
For the UK.
So for the UK, you have this thing called UCAS, and you put in 5 choices, and then they give you conditional offers where they tell you what grades you need to have in your A levels
Okay.
to make it an unconditional offer. There's a
Okay.
big story around that as well. So in my A levels, I took 4 subjects: maths, physics, chemistry, and biology. Probably one of my worst decisions ever because they're the hardest subjects in the
Okay.
world. First year was really good, got 4 A's. Second year, messed it all up, all B's. So all of my conditional offers got rejected for the UK as well.
Okay.
So I was kind of left kind of clueless what to do anymore because I couldn't go to the US, I couldn't go to the UK anymore.
Yeah.
I got into clearing, which is a system that the UK has for places in universities if you don't get in your first try.
Okay.
So I got into Newcastle for mechanical engineering. At the same time, I found this program in Pakistan called NCUK. It was just randomly on the radio one day.
Okay.
And I was like, let's explore this. Basically what it was you could do a UK first year program in Pakistan. And I was like, that might be a good option to kind of retry getting into a good university in the UK. So I had to make the decision, I think on the last day before my flight was due to Newcastle, if I want to stay another year in Pakistan and do my year 1 in Pakistan or go the next day to Newcastle. And I made that decision to just stay in Pakistan because
Okay.
there's a lot of benefits. It's, as you may know, international fees for the UK are insanely expensive. So I could skip 1 year of fees. It's really cheap in Pakistan, and some of the universities in it were really good. It was all Russell Group universities. So I made that decision. Did another year in Pakistan, did my year 1. Did really well. I'm grateful because I had some good tutors and it was really nice maths, engineering.
Okay.
I love it.
And if someone in your position when you wanted to go to the UK would receive any advice from you, now having experienced all that painful process, what would you tell them to be able to make it?
From Pakistan to the UK?
Yes.
Well, I come from a very privileged position of my parents being able to support me because these days it's just insanely unaffordable to come to the UK. So count your blessings if you even have the option to come to the UK. But if you do, make the most of it and try your best to deliver.
Yeah.
And just don't take it for granted.
Okay. I think that's very important. And then what was the most difficult part of living in the UK coming from Pakistan for you?
Well, the most difficult part was honestly the financial constraint. Because more than my university, I was constantly thinking about how am I going to pay the next fee. Because these were like, at the time it was £24,000 per year.
Yeah.
And when I was moving, my dad was like, I'll pay for the first year, but then you're on your own.
Okay.
So my whole plan of pitching this business case of going to the UK to my parents was pay for the first year, I'll get a job in my second year, do a placement or something, and pay for the rest of it on my own. And that's kind of what I was meant to do. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So this was March 2021. All of my placement dreams kind of went into the dust at the time because all the placements got cancelled.
Yeah.
But I was also kind of stuck in the middle where I was like, I don't want to go back because what if I go back and a company wants to interview me and I'm not in the UK? Because at the time there was a lot of travel restrictions as well. So I stayed until August that year, and the university was like, your course is starting next month, so are you starting or are you doing a placement year? And I was like, I don't have a job at the minute, so probably doing my last year, and I'll try and sort out the funds if I can. But luckily, this was when the UK was doing Eat Out to Help Out. It was basically things were getting normal a bit. That there were about 10 opportunities for placements at the time. And I applied to all of them.
Okay.
Out of all 10 of those, the last one was like, hey, we'd like to do an interview.
Okay.
And I gave that interview and I got selected. It was one of the best moments of my life at the time. It was this other French company called Saint-Gobain. I did a placement with them for 1 year. But yeah, that was a real relief because I was working full time. I didn't have to pay tuition fees for a year. I was earning money. And I saved all of that to be able to pay for my last year then. So it was a kind of a relieving feeling not having to burden my family to pay for my studies and all. Yeah, so that was good. But yeah, generally it's just coming from Pakistan, it's really hard to come to the UK or US or generally Europe for studies on your own accord. The inequality in the earnings, the currency is just almost impossible. But if you do get the opportunity, don't take it for granted because it's a big privilege. Moving on, I did my last year, final year, went really well. But again, I faced another issue with getting jobs at the time. It was being an international student. There's not enough jobs that were sponsoring at the time.
You mean sponsoring a visa?
Yeah, sponsoring a skilled worker visa because that becomes a criteria once you're off your university degree. So in the beginning, it was just I was just not that good at selling myself.
Yeah.
I was not used to selling myself, basically my CVs and interviews. So I wasn't getting accepted that much. And I had some good mentors to kind of teach me how to, write CVs, do job applications, write cover letters. That's kind of when I found out the importance of cover letters as well.
Okay.
They always say it's optional, but I would say it's never optional. Always do it.
Okay, that's a good point.
Because the only companies that responded to me were the ones that
really
I sent a cover letter to. Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of just tips like that. Then it got to the point where I was being accepted. I was being called for site tours to the point where they were like, yeah, perfect for the job. We'll talk to you about your contract and stuff soon, only to be called about 2 days later by HR saying, hey, we can't sponsor your visa. So, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you get into then the fuel systems position?
Yeah. So that's when I started looking at companies that only the companies that have historically sponsored visas.
Yeah.
And then Airbus popped up.
Yeah.
And Airbus was always close to my heart because my dad was an aeronautical engineer. So it's just I've grown up around planes. So with aerospace, you either get into when you're in Europe, you either get into Airbus or it's a military company. Obviously, I can't get into a military company for ethics and for the fact that I just can't get accepted as a non-UK national.
Yeah.
So Airbus was the only option, but it was probably the best option anyway. I had low hopes of being accepted, honestly, because I had applied to about 70, 80 jobs by this point.
No way.
Much smaller companies than Airbus that had rejected me. So but because this was a company that was so important to me, you know, the work culture, the products, just how passionate everyone is about engineering and Airbus. And the first time I was exposed to Airbus was actually in 2019, in my first year when I joined uni in Leeds. It was a careers fair, and I met this guy, which was, now that I think about it, is probably a graduate from the time.
Yeah.
And he told me about how great his job was at Airbus, and that kind of stuck with me in my head. And he gave me a keychain with the "We Make It Fly." I actually still use the keychain. That my house keys are on that keychain.
That's lovely.
Yeah, and my lanyard still has that plane, the lapel pin that he gave me at the time.
Okay.
So it's kind of Airbus has kind of stuck with me since I moved to the UK.
Okay.
Yeah, so I gave that application my all, and at this time I was past university, so I didn't have a job still, so I was just doing small random jobs. I got a job at a Next warehouse.
Yeah.
That was a tough job, probably my most mentally and physically exhausting job yet.
Why?
Because I was doing 12-hour night shifts 4 days a week. And this was quite tough because, again, it was a lot of mental stress, because the reason I was doing it was my visa fees were coming up, and the visa fees for the UK are quite extortionate as well. I wanted to get a post-study work visa, which you can get before you get sponsored by a company.
Okay.
This is like a 2-year transitional work visa after you graduate. It doesn't require you to be employed even.
Okay.
But it is quite costly. It was like, I needed about £3,000 to cover it.
Wow.
And it was due to be paid in the next 3 months. It's like, how do I make this money out of nowhere? So that was the quickest way to make money, but it was also the most mentally and physically taxing. It was fun while it lasted. It ended up being about 16 hours because the place was 2 hours away. So I was leaving at 4 p.m. every day, and I was coming home at 8 a.m. the next day.
No way.
I was leaving at 4 p.m. again, consecutively. It was meant to be 3 days, but I just wanted the money.
Yeah.
I was doing overtime, so I didn't make the money in the end. Got laid off. It was just a 0-hour contract, so they just get rid of you when the job is done.
Yeah.
So at the time then, I had made enough money to do my visas. Then I was like, while I look for my, industry related job, I've always been passionate about food.
Yeah.
Like, this is the only time probably, because I had hope and faith that I will succeed in getting a engineering job.
Yeah.
I was like, but until I get it, this is probably the only time I'll get to work in the food industry and hospitality, at least for a long, long time. So I just went around every restaurant around my house, and I went in and I was like, are you guys hiring? Are you guys hiring? There was this one Syrian restaurant that I really like to eat at, and I was like, are you guys hiring? It's like, oh, it must be our lucky day, because we were just discussing trying to get new stuff. They got my contact, and literally the next week they were like, do you want to do a trial run? And I got that job as a waiter. Super exciting.
How long did you do it for?
Oh, quite a long time. I was doing my Airbus application while I was working there.
Okay.
And I kind of progressed in that restaurant as well while I was doing all of this. I was like a waiter in the beginning, then kind of like a supervisor. Then I went into deliveries, which is probably the most fun. It felt like one of those, if you played Papa's Pizzeria on Miniclip, it's basically that but real life.
Okay.
Super fun. Just pressing buttons and packing bags. I was just really good at that, so they were like, yeah, just do this full time, it's fine.
Okay.
But while all of this was happening, Airbus was running in the background.
Okay.
And I was actually doing my shift at the restaurant while I got a call from Airbus saying I got the job. It's probably the most important call of my life.
Yeah.
I mentioned this in my story as well. It was the most important call of my life for the next half an hour, because straight away I went home to my mom and called her to tell her I got the job, and she just straight up started crying. And that was probably the most emotional moment of my life. Even when I think about it now, it's like I get emotional every time.
Yeah.
So that is now the most important call of my life.
Yeah.
Airbus is not the second most important now.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of that just kind of cemented the emotional impact and how big AGGP is to me, and how important it is, and how much struggle it was to get here.
Okay.
So that's why I count my blessings every day that I am in AGGP.
Okay. Just for context, AGGP is the Airbus Global Graduate Program, which we have explained with Bianca in another video. So if you want to know more about it, check it out. So yes, please continue.
Yeah. And yeah, the role itself is perfectly suited for me. I'm so happy. for what I've been put in. Even though I did electrical and electronics engineering in my university, whereas my department is fuel systems. So one would think, what's the connection? But fuel systems are one of the biggest control systems in an aircraft.
Yeah.
And the biggest and my favorite part of my degree was control systems.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry. So I was saying fuel systems is one of the biggest control systems in an aircraft, and one of the biggest part of an electrical and electronics engineering degree is fuel systems.
Yeah.
Control systems.
Yeah.
So it was perfectly suited for me. It was exactly the work experience I'd done. I'd done some internships and work experience on Internet of Things, on control systems in Pakistan as well.
Yeah.
So this was just, if you copied my CV and put it in a job description, this is what it was. So I'm just super happy. It was just the perfect job for me, and it's a perfect team as well. So I'm just really happy now that I'm in fuel systems, and again, just not taking it for granted, because every day I think about all the struggles that have led up to this.
Yes.
And honestly, I think all of those struggles probably still play a big role, because you just, even with these like small jobs, like working as a waiter, working in something like long night shifts, you get resilience to you learn to have a lot of resilience in long, tedious tasks. When you're expected to do stuff that sometimes you don't want to do, but it's important.
Yeah.
Stuff like being a waiter teaches you a lot of customer focus. It's a core value of the company. Probably every company.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy that it took me that long to get into Airbus, because I wouldn't have been as good at Airbus if I didn't have those experiences.
That is a good point, because in one of my videos I talked about linking the dots of your life. In when you get to actually see the benefit of having done those experiences, even though they seem meaningless when you do them. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly true. And Airbus could have probably come in my life earlier, but I may not have been that good at understanding Airbus and working at Airbus, understanding the people, if I hadn't gone through all of the other indirect stuff that led up to it.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
That was how I got into.
Well, you have a very inspirational journey. Yes.
Glad you think so. Thank you.
Can you share with us what pushed you? What pushed you through all this to keep pushing? What motivated you to keep pushing despite the challenges?
Well, I always thought about the original goal that I came to the UK for, was to build a career here and foster the opportunities that I get here that I wouldn't have gotten in my home country. So if I didn't succeed in that, all of it would have been gone to waste. I wouldn't have been able to stay here because I wouldn't have had a visa anymore. So that just kind of pushed me, and it was also all of the sacrifices my parents made to bring me here. It was too much fear of letting that go to waste. Because if it's my own sacrifice, that's fine. It's the consequences of losing that is a consequence of my own shortcomings. But if it's my parents' sacrifice, that's like too much to risk. So that's what pushed me. Just perseverance.
I see what you mean. And if you would like to give an advice to people that might be thinking of going out there and get better opportunities, what would you tell them?
Going out and getting better opportunities. Honestly, it's at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. Because it's not exactly a numbers game. It's more about doing as much as you can, failing as much as you can. Because every time you fail, it's another opportunity to get more feedback, learn from it, until you get to the things you really want. Like personally for me, the smaller jobs I applied to, it was fine if I get rejected. It's not that close to my heart. Even if I did get accepted, I would have gotten the work experience, maybe like the job, but it would have been at the end a stepping stone for me to get into something I'm really passionate about. And being rejected in that got me into Airbus, which is something like I could see myself spending my life at Airbus, and it might be fine. Because it fosters to my passion. So just never fear failure, embrace it. That's the lesson I would give.
Thank you very much, Jay. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Can I give you a hug?
Yeah, of course you can.
You're an inspiration, man.
Thank you.
Yes. So
As
yes,
are you.
thank you.
Doing all of this.
So yeah, you have it there. Jay's story on how he went from Pakistan to now being almost at the end of his program in fuel systems engineering, and now about to get a final role in one super interesting project. It all ended up like this because of his perseverance and his inner motivation to respect and honor the effort of his parents, and also following his instinct and passions to do the job that he loves. So thank you very much. Yes.
Pleasure. As always.
And I usually end the videos saying, see you tomorrow. Could you say, that is it for today, see you tomorrow?
That's it for today, guys. See you tomorrow.